Now, let's discuss the current crisis in the Middle East with Rami Igra, the former head of Mossad MIA department, joining us from Tel Aviv. I'm happy to have you join me right now, Rami. First of all, what are your thoughts about the multitude of contradictory statements about alleged talks between Iran and the United States?
I'm only amazed that you're trying to interpret Donald Trump. This is the only thing that is amazing here. Why would you try to interpret Donald Trump? Donald Trump is in a situation that he needs to get out of this war. And he's going to tell you a story that fits his agenda and fits the conditions that he needs in order to stop fighting in Iran. Because at the end of the day, the Iranians have put America in a situation that is very difficult to resolve. If this war becomes an energy war, and the energy war is not only about the oil that goes through the Straits of Hormuz, it is also about the gas that comes from Qatar, it is the oil that comes from Saudi Arabia, and the Iranians, being as weak as they are, still have the capability of sending missiles to all of these sites, as they have in 2019 in Aramco in Saudi Arabia, and by thus changing the oil market, the gas market, and developing an energy crisis around the world, which will mean a world recession. And Donald Trump knows that, and now he's trying to find a solution to how we're going to do this. He has to talk to the Iranians. Is he going to talk to a less extreme Iranians that they were before this war? That is the big question.
All right, talking about Donald Trump and communication, he says that he bombed all Iranian communication. So many people don't know that talks are ongoing. And that's as an Iranian parliament speaker rejects this claim in a tweet. What do you think is really going on from your interpretation?
I wouldn't base your newscast on Donald Trump and his different declarations. Everything has been bombed. He's won the war a long time ago, etc. What is important here to understand is that the only two things that really matter at the end of this war is extracting the 450 kilograms of enriched uranium that are in Iran and that can be used for developing a future bomb. Your commentator is right. There is no evidence that the Iranians were developing a nuclear device at this stage, but they can in the future. And it is very important for the free world and for all of us to extract these 450 kilograms out of Iran. The problem is that nobody knows exactly where it is, and it is scattered, and it is also encased in a gas state, gaseous state, meaning uranium hexafluoride, which makes it a very difficult element to deal with. The other important thing is changing the regime in Iran. And the people that thought that this attack would somehow bring the people of Iran to the streets and to the changing of this government were greatly disappointed. And it all comes from miscalculating the enemy or misunderstanding who is on the other side. What we're getting at the end of this war, we're getting a much more extreme Iranian leadership. We're getting a situation where the government is not overthrown, and these people are also full of revenge, as what has happened during this war is decapitating most of the leadership, including the religious leadership of the Shia. And remember, the Shia are 350 million people in this world.
Now, although Iran has maintained that the idea of a bomb is haram, which means it's forbidden, but let me come to you now. As a former agent of Mossad, you have seen several fights in a few wars in your lifetime. How does this current conflict differ from previous ones your country has been in?
First of all, there is a fatwa from 2004 by Khamenei himself against a nuclear bomb. But if you listen well to the Iranian news, there is a new fatwa from yesterday from several religious leaders saying that they should develop a nuclear bomb. Now, if you ask me, at the end of this situation, the Iranians will have a great incentive to develop or to use the 450 kilograms they have into creating a nuclear device, even if it is a very primitive nuclear device. This nuclear device would change the face of the Middle East and would change the face of energy in the world. And I think that all of us, including Russia, should be worried about this. How is this war different than any other war? This is a war run from the sky. There are no boots on the ground. And you must understand that there is no way to win a war by aerial bombarding. You want a great example of this? Look at the Second World War. Until the Russian troops did not enter Berlin, nothing happened to Nazi Germany. And Nazi Germany was bombed massively across the country for a very long time. Nothing was standing. The Soviet troops at the time entered Berlin and changed the war. So a war is not won by aerial attacks. It is won by boots on the ground. And I think that all parties to this war knew and understood this. They were all hoping that the aerial attacks would somehow change the regime and somehow bring the people to overthrow this current government. If you ask me, it's miscalculation, misunderstanding of the enemy, and I personally don't understand how anyone thought that this was possible.
Now, Trump has hinted at Israel's being on board with an armistice. Now, if Washington makes a deal with Iran, let's take a listen to this.
If these talks go well and you reach a ceasefire agreement with Iran, do you believe Israel would abide by that agreement?
I think Israel will be very happy with what we have. We just spoke to Israel a little while ago. I think they'll be very happy. This will be peace for Israel, long-term peace, guaranteed peace. If this happens, and I can't guarantee it, but I think it's going to. And my life is a deal. That's all I do is deals my whole life. I think this is something that's going to happen. And why wouldn't it happen?
Now, Rami, do you agree with Donald Trump? And what is the best possible outcome for Israel from the point right on, in your opinion?
How can you agree with Donald Trump? Donald Trump is, you ask me at this stage, is hallucinating. But there is no question that if Trump and the United States of America decide to stop this war and ask or demand from Israel to stop the war, this war will be stopped. For Israel, the most important thing in this war is the extraction of these 450 kilograms of enriched uranium, because this is the key to a strategic change in the Middle East. Whether this is possible or not, I don't know. I do think that the only way that this war is going to end positively, and this is the only way, the only other ways are not going to be positive, is some kind of deal, and I don't think that Trump is such a great deal maker, a deal with the Iranians, and this time Iranians are going to be much tougher to negotiate with, a deal with the Iranians where the 450 kilograms are going to be extracted from Iran to a place like Russia, like it was in the past, when the Iranians, on the other hand, receive financial and economic benefits which they gravely need, and Iranians will somehow stop funding their proxies around the Middle East. Is this going to change Iran? Is this going to change the Islamic Republic? No, it's not. It's not going to change them, but we have to deal with it. And I want you to remember that Donald Trump is the man that made the deal with the Taliban in 2020, where he, with the Taliban, agreed that they're going to have a democratic state in Afghanistan where women are going to have equal rights. Has this materialized? You know the answer to this question.
All right. Meanwhile, the New York Times published an article saying Mossad pressed hard for war on Iran, betting on the country's collapse if senior leadership was removed. Now, I know you have talked about the issue of miscalculations earlier. What is your take on this? Can you speak to us specifically on this?
I don't know if this is the truth or not. The New York Times is not always accurate. But if anybody thought that by bombarding Iran and by decapitating all the leadership, you are going to have a revolution, people don't understand what a revolution is. And in Russia, I think you understand revolutions more than anyone else. In order to have a revolution, you need three components at least. You have a popular movement. You don't see this popular movement in Iran. You need leadership, local leadership, not Pahlavi from Los Angeles, local leadership. And you need this movement to be armed and to confront the regime and take power by power. Is this going to happen? Are we close in any way to a situation like this? I don't think so. And I don't think anyone else in Israel or in the intelligence community that understands the Iranians thought that this is possible.
Now, the article we're talking about also says that when assassinating Iran's top officials didn't bring about the fall of the government, Israel had no plan B. What is your thought? What do you think West Jerusalem will pursue next, seeing that the first strategy may not be working the way they expected?
There's only one Jerusalem, and it's not West and East. The question, what is Israel going to do? Israel at this stage is trying to get the best of this deal. And the best of this deal is destroying Iran's ballistic capabilities, hitting Iran's power structure in any way that it can, and hoping that by doing all of this, in the future, Iran will find it very difficult to rehabilitate their capabilities. Because remember, the Iranian regime is not a benevolent and nice regime to the world. It has been a murderous regime, not only to the Middle East, and it's not only Israel, also to the rest of the Middle East. And it's been not a benevolent regime for its people. So we're not talking about good guys that have been hit mistakenly by bad guys. We're looking at very bad guys who are at the end of the day, have received what they deserve. Is this going to lead to any good resolution for the world? As I told you before, I don't think so. We are in a situation where at the end of the day, if we don't come to a deal with them, and the deal will include disarming their nuclear capability, and will also include great financial and economic benefit to the Iranian people, so that this regime will somehow change in the long run. If this is not going to happen, then we are looking at an energy war, which is going to hit everyone. You are going to find that oil prices in Russia and in Europe, and also in America, where they do as Trump is right. Most of their oil comes from fracking, and they have enough oil reserves, but everything in the world is going to be much more expensive. And at the end of the day, we're looking at a long-term recession that we will all have to deal with. So let's all pray that this war somehow resolves itself, and somehow Donald Trump, through all of his statements that are not always understandable, comes to a deal with the Iranians, whether they want it or don't want it. And in this deal, they will get economic relief, and the world will be relieved from their nuclear capabilities and ambitions. And if this is the deal, then we'll all be blessed.
Now, Iran targeted the nuclear site in Israel's Dimona in retaliation to attacks on Natanz. Now, it seems the stakes are getting higher in this war. How serious is this escalation?
You have to remember that targeting and hitting is not the same thing. This escalation is not serious because of Iranian missiles. Iranian missiles are inaccurate and are well dealt by Israeli anti-missile defense. Very well dealt. The thing is escalating not here. It is escalating in the Gulf. It is escalating in Riyadh. It is escalating in Doha. It's escalating in Qatar. It's escalating all over the Gulf. This is where the treasures are, and the treasures are oil and gas. And this is the supply of the world. And if the Iranians decide they're not only going to close the Straits of Hormuz, which they've already done, they're going to hit Aramco in Saudi Arabia. They're going to hit Qatar's gas stations and cities. They're going to hit Dubai. They're going to change the Gulf. And changing the Gulf has grave economic consequences to the world.
All right, we have to leave you here now. Rami Igra, former head of Mossad MIA department, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much.
Right.